So, with day 8 now finished and concluding all of the group stage matches, we're going over everyone from today again, starting with Flyquest versus Dragon X, TF, Nidalee, Caitlyn. Nidalee on blue side, very strange not to prioritize this pick for yourself. Lucian Syndravoli, counter picks against PoE and Solo. Seeing Graves first pick, which is quite standard. Nothing all too strange here. Lilia Senna, AD, and probably an AD mid champion as well, with the Lilia, or at least a heavy AD top. Jhin on, strong long range engage and pick, and then Jace is picked up either into the on or the AD mid for Chovy. Sylas Tan, then banned. Sylas against Chovy, so they're not believing in any Jace mid pick. Kassadin Orianna. Kassadin ban might indicate that they're going for an AP mid with double AP in jungle and mid, making Kassadin a better champion. Galio then picked up for Chovy, indicating that Jace is going into top lane. Thresh, good for Jhin, and Adir, the DPS and the AP damage. Pantheon, lastly, works really good with Galio. Flyquest overall wants to scale and then teamfight later, not having a lot going for them in the early game. On the other side, Dragon X wants to fight in the mid game, not really liking teamfights, but skirmishes, some global picks. That's how they want to play the game. Going into the game, both teams play a slower early game. Dragon X lane kingdoming them in every position, getting massive CS leads overall. Taking top turret in 10 minutes. And yes, Dragon X bot is overextending a bit and is being punished accordingly. But everywhere else, Dragon X is winning way more, accumulating a 5k gold lead in 15 minutes already, with extra gold coming from plates. Going over what Solo is doing in the top lane. What else should he be doing, right? Doran having the better champ, and especially the way Doran is piloting Jace, focusing not on damaging or zoning or killing Doran, which is not really possible, as he's just so damn tanky. So he's doing one of the two options you can do against Ornn. One option being free scaling, the other one taking Ornn's turrets, which is what he's doing. And especially with the help from Pioshik and Chovy, Ornn being all alone with has no means to defend anything on his own. So yeah, flaming Solo here again is not the right mindset. Dragon X snowballing rather perfectly, very clean, not fighting needlessly, securing more jungle camps and then pressuring the lanes. They could freeze at some points to get more XP leads, but they're using these push lanes to create pressure points on the map to zone people from these pushed minion waves, and this way, through more hard work, they're also creating these XP leads, and the pressure of the Shadow of Fog of War is also helpful for jungle invades. In the 27th minute, after Flyquest think they got a pick, Dragon X counter engages, acing them in the process without losing anyone, getting the Baron and 13k gold lead afterwards. Nothing too spectacular happens afterwards. Dragon X slowly and controlled, pushing multiple lanes and finishing the game right after. Flyquest with little chance overall in the game, going for more scaling, which they didn't got the time for this. Going into the next game, we have UOL versus TS. With a TS win here, UOL and Flyquest are eliminated from Worlds. So Jax, Gragas, Renekton. Many picks, bans for a Camille pick. Swain, Nidalee, and then the Camille banned. Yeah, but it leaves Lucian open. very strong pick here. Syndra Ashe. Ashe, I say she's a very solid blindable bot laner. Syndra into Lucian, not really liking this matchup, but Knight is undefeated on Syndra this year. As such, yeah, I can understand why he's picking this. Lilia Nautilus, yeah, Lilia with Lucian, Nautilus to further increase their early and mid game pressure. Graves then lastly pick up before the ban phase to match Lilia's clear speed. On Pantheon, strong picks, also with scaling and early game focus in either of them. Ori Karthus, bans against Gadget. So yes. Lulu then picked up. Lulu very flexible pick at the moment, maybe top or support here. Wukong and Ziggs, more AP and team fighting. Wukong offers some engage through flanks, but nothing very linear to get into the fight at the moment's notice. Sion then lastly picked up, decent into Wukong, and yeah, locking Lulu into the support position. UL overall wants to teamfight and has some options in the late game with their damage, but having no real engage or frontline means that their comp is rather difficult to play. Diaz more scaling, but every lane has a setup for Graves. As such, on his back, he could facilitate leads in the lanes, which then could snowball with their scaling picks accelerated. Yeah, then looking into the game, Nomans with Tier, Hex Drinker, losing a lot of the pressure and power Lucian brings with so much scaling and defensive items. Yeah, falling down in CS, similar in bot lane. There's such a great gap in the 2vs2, killing UL's bot lane at many points. Overall, they were 0-6-2, and yeah, generating a 5.5 gold lead in 16 minutes for TS. The game was actually over in the 10th minute or something like that, because the scaling comp was just so far ahead. And as I said before, UL has no real comeback mechanics in their kits. Additionally, the way TS played it so cleanly and perfectly, punishing every time when UL tries to get something more of the map, as well as securing all the drakes on spawn. Well, yeah, and that's it. TS complete control over the game, finishing it in 27th minute. One of the more one-sided games this world so far. Yeah, not the fastest one, but the way TS played, there was no chance for UL at any point so far. Yeah, but that's something to be expected. I mean, this is the first seed of China playing against a wildcard region, but UL, the best wildcard region out there. So yeah, showing that these teams still have a lot to grow, and that TS is solid in their approach, even against some weaker teams, not slipping up and playing carelessly. Now, this game results in Flyquest and UL being disqualified from World's continuation. So yeah, they are just playing for pride and honor. So going into the next game, DragonX versus UL. So we see Swain, Blitzcrank, Callista, which are target bans against UL. Nidalee, Kindred, TF. Standard picks. Kindred, on the other hand, being main pick for Pioshik. Before Pro, he was a one-trick Kindred player. So yeah. Graves, I guess, not picking Lucian though. At this point, I was thinking about maybe UL was like leaving it open to trap DragonX, and maybe then DragonX noticed that and didn't pick it. I mean, it's really strange for the red side to leave Lucian open. Anyway, Graves is prioritized highly. As such, they're not missing out too much. Additionally, DragonX just saw Nomans with Lucian, and well, his performance wasn't that great, so maybe they're just thinking we can leave it open in his hands, it's not a strong pick. So Lucian Lilia, the AD AP duo with overall the great meta picks. Orianna Caitlyn on the other side. Finally, Caitlyn coming through, great lane priority champion, has a power trough, but if she's able to snowball the early game correctly, this is diminished. Camille then picked up lastly for the split push into on. Also over Worlds now, it's a comfortable pick for boss. Ashgen pinching the standard AD carry pool, but they should actually know that Ziggs is coming up with an AD mid laner. Ziggs is very likely to come in. Renekton looks not banning Jax, which is a bit strange here. Jax into Camille, right? Out of fear for the Lux Kate combo. Ziggs, the AP damage needed, as in Lucian mid is then coming in, as I was expecting. Ornn Lulu, more scaling and team fighting, also trying Lulu maybe as the pick after the TS game, so maybe this is just some practice for Dragon X. Nautilus, and lastly some engage and pick potential, and some engage next to Camille as well. Dragon X scaling, but with individual skills, they hope to play around Graves in the early game, right? If their lanes are better and get push advantage, then they can do something. But in theory, they have little means actually. UL wants to win and fight early with nearly the same team comp as last game, just switching. I think it's just the top laner. In-game Dragon X, as expected, being ahead in every position. Not snowballing as cleanly as TS was, but also they don't have the early mid-game champions TS picked. And sadly for them, their carries were caught once in the sidelines, which leads to Chovy actually falling behind individually. But Lucian is also a competent champion, so this is not too unexpected here in the 1v1 matchup. Anyway, in the team fights, Dragon X is just crushing UL with great coordination. Anacek is able to steal a Baron. So Dragon X, as I said, not really clean, losing 2 Drakes overall, as well as 3 turrets. Again, Dragon X didn't draft for early control, but still, it's a bit sloppy. And that's how the game then turned out to be even more. Dragon X with 9k gold lead, dying here and there, not pushing the waves in the right moments, not setting up vision properly to get picks or to secure objectives, are actually losing another Baron. But right after UL is able to take that Baron, they were killed, and Dragon X was finally able to finish the game. It was like one of the sloppiest one-sided games I've seen in a while. Dragon X was like statistically firmly in control, and there was little UL was able to do, even with getting all these extra objectives here and there. But Dragon X not cleanly playing the game out. Then moving on to the next one, we have TS versus Flyquest. TS has the chance, has to win here, of course. Otherwise, if they would lose to Dragon X, they would get in second. Otherwise, if they win here and then would still lose to Dragon X, they would get another chance for first in a tiebreaker match. So very interesting game for TS here. Flyquest, as I said before, playing for Honor. Shen, Renekton, Syndra. Comfort picks against Flyquest. Strange though that Syndra is banned from Knight's team. Anyway, Lucian, Nidalee, Senna, just strong meta picks banned, and Senna against Jackie Love. Graves, standard first pick with Nidalee, Lucian banned. Ashe, Lilia, solid champions. Also smart from them not to blind mid or anything on that nature. Caitlyn looks then picked up, very powerful bot lane, but falling off a bit in the mid game, right? Looks not very relevant after the first few minutes. Diaz saying that we're going to snowball lane very hard and then use that all over the map. Blitzcrank then picked up. Very small pick here from Ignar. It's a comfort pick for him as well. It's able to counter these immobile champions like Lux and Kate, right? What they're gonna do when the Blitzcrank comes for them. Voli, Ori, Orn and Camille. Nothing too outstanding here in the second band phase. Banning many top laners, pinching the pool overall. Azir then picked up for PoE. It's AP DPS, unlocking an AD top laner and offers even more scaling and some needed wave play here. Galio Urgot, two tanky boys with a bit strange, right? Not that high priority, but they needed front lane for Caitlyn. Both also don't offer some first tier engage, which is really something that their team was lacking. Yeah, answered by that, solo picks Ignar, which is quite good into Urgot. It's not a matchup that we're seeing regularly at the moment, but yeah, something we saw a few years back and here and there in solo queue. So Diaz's main focus on is Caitlyn and Carcer. A lot of AD damage here. Flyquest overall, scaling and great pick potential with multiple damage threats. So yeah, Flyquest getting 2 picks through Blitzcrank early and with solo surviving a gank, which results in great minion loss for TS, causing an early 2.5 gold lead in 8 minutes. Flyquest winning in all lanes with great CS leads. Ashe also getting all 5 plates in bot lane because of bad rotations, and the CS deficits growing in all lanes. Flyquest though, not playing way too clean, probably not expecting to be that much ahead. Centauran getting caught, and well, yeah, Solo getting camped as always, kept the lead for around 1.5k. But that's still okay for Flyquest, especially with their scaling, right? Extending their lead to 3k over the next few minutes, getting all the drakes, and yeah, with Soul spawning in the 21st minute, yeah, this looks really great for Flyquest. As I said before, TS has little means to directly engage a fight, which is yeah, very bad drafting, I have to say, or very arrogant, right? They were drafting like they were playing a bronze team, right? Just we pick strong lanes and then we don't need to engage because we can just run at them. But if you fall behind and have no potential engage, you can't even punish the enemy if they're making a huge mistake, right? So at the Soul Dragon fight, they trade 4 for 1. TS is able to get the Drake, but yeah, Flyquest gets the Baron afterwards. Flyquest overall not taking many risks, right? Playing it good, not perfect, by no means, but they're playing it safe, taking 2 inhib turrets, inhib mid, extending the lead to 8k, and using the overall map pressure to secure the Ocean Soul, and afterwards a Baron. Yeah, using the pressure of these objectives, and with the mid inhib still down, Flyquest pushing to top lane, engaging on TES, acing them completely in their base, and actually winning their second last game at Worlds. Flyquest now helping Dragon X taking the tiebreaker option from TES, making the last game of the day the deciding match for the first. Overall, very strange game. Yeah, as I said before, draft issues were heavily there for TS after falling behind early. Flyquest playing the game really slow, very controlled, not giving TS any possibilities to punish and come back. Well, as I said before, it's really hard although for TS to punish with the champions they elected. So moving into the next and nearly last game for today, UL versus Flyquest. Shen, Ashe, Voli, Lucian, Nidalee, Swain. Standard bans overall. Voli and Swain yeah, albeit of the target bans against individual players. Starting again with the bread and butter Graves first pick, moving into Jin Lilia, which is a good AD AP combination here. Also not showing the solo lanes, which also is a good thing here. Twitch Kassadin, highly comfort picks for UL's bot and mid laner. Yeah, so very much focusing on scaling here. Renekton then picked up, comfort pick, and well, one of the first time solo now gets a strong pick, I have to say. Strong in brackets, right? Blind picking Renekton. But with second ban phase coming up, they're able to ban some options, right? Aurelia, Syndra, Ornn and Rakan are banned. So bans against PoE, and on the other side banning more engage options. So UL can't get some super teamfight combinations with Twitch. Vayne then locked in. Someone wants to smurf, I felt like. And Vayne is more play for fun for PoE. But we have to keep in mind, so we see Graves, we see Kassadin, we see Twitch. Actually, Vayne is quite good in these into these champions. Especially like Lucian is banned as the standard AD mid. So yeah, Trist, Tostana is honestly also an option that you could consider here. She offers more push and the ability to take turrets faster, which is actually very great. Also, her long range offers more potential against the Twitch, right? Knocking the Twitch back, so he can't one-shot you, right? So ult W is keeping you safe from any Twitch surprises. But she can't really freeze the lane, which makes it a bit harder. But then again, mid lane is not probably the lane you're freezing for extended periods. As such, I think Tristana could have been an option here. But yeah. So we see a Malphite Lulu on the other side, more team fight and more scaling, drafting like a very comfortable pick for UL, with champions that can do much together, which is the way UL succeeded in planes. Blitzcrank then lastly, more comfort and even more pick potential for Flyquest, right? Works quite decently with the Jhin. So I'm not going over this game in too much detail afterwards now. It's mostly a fun game and means very little. And yeah. In the game, Flyquest lane kingdoming UL in every position, getting massive leads everywhere, smashing them all over the map. UL is able to skirmish successfully at some points, but Flyquest not concerned and continuing their snowball at other parts of the map. Flyquest showing why there's still a gap between them and the best team from the wildcard regions. Yeah, very good performance overall from Flyquest in this one. Quadra kill even for PoE. So they're ending their season on a win. For UL, it's really hard. I mean, they are dominating the wildcard teams. And honestly, they and other wildcard teams have the same problem as NA. They have no really good practice partners. From what I heard, UL is scrimming some bottom tier EU teams. The same goes for the Turkish league. They're also scrimming some bottom EU teams. Latin America teams can scrim some bottom NA teams, and are scrimming more academy teams actually. But NA academy, I mean, yeah, sorry, that's not really world level practice, which is able to get you on the next level. So yeah, one of the greatest problems for these regions is that they have no good practice against others. While Korea, they are good in themselves. China, similar story. Also, some Chinese teams and Korean teams could scrim each other if they actually wanted to. for the PCS or the LJL, the Japanese league, they can scrim Chinese and Korean teams. So they're improving faster. And yeah, the PCS in Vietnam, for example, are also not really wildcard teams. They're this step between wildcard and major leagues, which is honestly the level NA is at the moment. They are not really a major region at the moment. Getting some upsets, which is quite nice, but yeah, also not really on the same level as Europe, Korea, or China. So yeah, these regions, they just have to get good on their own, and be creative. Maybe boot camp more as a team in the off season. Like they have to train more because they are behind the skill curve. This is one of the only things they can do. Anyway, coming now to the final match, Dragon X versus TS. This is a match for first. Syndra, Renekton, Lilia. Syndra against Knight, obviously, and the other picks are very standard against TS. Lucian, TF, Nidalee. Nothing too spectacular here. The standard red side pants, I feel like. But with these picks, Caitlyn is making it through, and she's picked up for Death. Very comfort pick, going very aggressive in the bot lane matchup. Ashe Graves. Ashe, very safe pick into Caitlyn with her W and also similar range. She can play the lane out quite nicely. And after level 6, Caitlyn has to be very careful if she's not going for cleanse. Kindred for Pyoshik, as I said before, one of his one-trick champions, and Galio for Chovy. So Chovy again on the tank. Yes, I really don't like this. Yes, Galio and Kindred is a good combination, but you're not even sure what the enemy will pick as overall. So you're just going with your mid laner so early, and the mid laner like Galio who offers no damage. Like, you have to understand, Galio's damage is all base damage. It doesn't matter how many items he buys, as long as he is not 10 and 0. He's not doing very relevant damage overall. Also, he has little options to get to the backline if he doesn't have a target to ult. So yeah, this is throwing all the eggs into the Pyoshik death basket just from the first 3 picks. This is not very good drafting, I have to say. Additionally, when we're honest here, Chovy, even with Deft and Pyoshik playing way better than they were in the LCK, Chovy is still their best player. And yeah, to throw him on the Galio duty is not really great. Galio is not the 1v9 champion he was a few years ago. So yeah, I'm not really liking this. The pick is not very bad, but it's very linear and it's not what your team wants to do. Then Orianna is picked up for Knight. Very fine against Galio, can just freely CS, freely scale, and even in teamfights she's very decent against Kindred. Right, Kindred can ult her burst, but Orianna can just ult after Kindred ulti, where everyone is stacked on one place with relatively low HP. Going over the next band, Blitzcrank Morgana to diminish pick potential from TS. Camille looks laning bands here. Lulu is then picked. Remember, she's a very good flex picks. She can go mid, top, or support actually. Here, in this case, it's a top support flex, right, with Orianna already picked. On more scaling and team fighting, enabling some engage here, but just Ornn alone is not enough engage. Also, Ornn is not a champion which is, I'd say, ultable for Galio, right? Ornn is not in the midst of things. He has no real potential to get into the fight unless he is walking. So the synergy is not really there overall. They have some teamfight options, don't get me wrong, but it's not perfect. And as it's not perfect to sacrifice so much damage, right? Look at what they've picked. No real AP damage, just 2 AD carries. Which, yeah, this can work, but it's like on this high level, it's not very smart. And yeah, then Bart as well, more lane pressure and team fighting with his ult. And last pick, yeah, as I said before, there are 2 options against Ornn. Either you take his turret, and then split push, right? Ignoring Ornn, just taking the turrets, creating pressure and gold leads. And the next one is to scale into Ornn, right? So Ornn scales very greatly with the extra thousands of gold he's offering his team, also his tankiness and his ultimate in teamfights, right? So you have to pick a champion which scales very well as well and does similar things. So one here would be Vladimir, right? Not every time this has worked out greatly in the history of the game, but in this case, looking at Dragon X draft, what do they have against Vladimir? They have no real CC against him, which is able to hit him reliably. They have no shields or protection for their AD carries. Yeah, so if Vladimir gets online, and yeah, he can do whatever he wants here. And in the lane, he can't be punished, right? And Ornn doesn't punish a Vladimir. Vladimir can just go cull first item or second item and just do whatever he wants, scale freely. And yeah, at one point in time, unless his team is so far behind, there's no stopping him. So yeah, bit of a draft diff here. Dragon X, obviously they have the means, right? If they get early leads. Normally they wouldn't need early leads because they're scaling very well, but they have no AP damage, they have no means against the Vladimir. As such, they have to be proactive, right? So, and then remember, the winner of this match plays either Fnatic, G2 or JDG, and the loser has to play Damwon, Suning or Genji. So the stakes are rather high, honestly. Another tidbit before we going into it, Ionian boots again. So yeah, if you're a mid laner like Galio, for example, or a champion that uses flash repeatedly, or maybe you just want to get early boots, right? Because you expanded your TP. I have to recommend Ionian boots now more heavily. Seeing this in this game, Joby picked it up very early. It enabled him to go for more flash taunt plays. Also with TP on a shorter cooldown, he was able to use his 2 global abilities to help his teammates in many circumstances. So yeah, Galio is one of the examples where I would say, yeah, Ionian boots early are very good. I'm not sure of the sell price for them, so selling them and then going for Ninja Tabis or Mercuries for the late game teamfights. But this is obviously an option that you can do them later. But even in late game, where summoner spells are very important, Ionian boots are still helpful, even if you don't get the resistances through the other boots. So going into the game now, finally. It was a really quality game. The whole team was playing around their junglers and their camps, especially the marked camps, mid-rotating and TPing, bots matching their push to invade. Very cleverly played. It was, like the commentators called it, a chess game. And yeah, it was on a similar level, right? No one was inting. Everyone was playing to their strength, which is scaling. As I said before, Dragon X actually needs to do more. But they have to be careful, right? If they fall behind against the scaling comp with the Vladimir, then they're in a very bad spot. And just scaling normally and saying, okay, then we win through team fights, then we outplay Vladimir. It's hard, but it is actually possible. But Dragon X had actually very bad luck as well with mountains. So remembering So Galio doesn't do much damage. So if TDS is actually able to get the drakes, the mountain drakes, Galio's damage is completely erased. And yeah, both teams playing very strongly in these early minutes, not dying once. It's actually the latest first blood in world history. And yeah, this occurred in the 24th minute and 4 seconds. This was the moment Dragon Axe lost the game actually. Oriana ult on 3 targets, killing 2 or 3 people, resulting in the Baron buff and the gold lead that TS would take and run with it. As I said before, Dragon Axe has no actually engage, right? They have some potential to look for fights, but if TES isn't scrambling around and isn't able to be flanked by Galio or anything like that, Dragon Axe actually has nothing, right? An Ornn doesn't engage us from far away, is not in the fight. So what is Galio supposed to ult? And both of these tanks can just run into 5 people. There's too much peel and way too much damage on TS. So yeah, going over the game with like exceeding minute after minute. Vladimir, as I said before, and as we all predicted from the draft, was not answerable. Dragons made them champions not to deal any damage. So yeah, it was rather cleanly played from TS after these minutes, and even before that they were really smartly rotating to secure their own marks to not get Pioshik his 4th mark too easily. So yeah, very smart play from TS and very clean. Dragon Axe, a bit of the issue with the draft, right? They could have actually won this game. They weren't playing that bad. Just one slip up, and then yeah, TS snowballed correct. So, but that's it for Group D now. All games have resolved, and the final standings are known. So, and first, as this game concluded, TS, followed by Dragon Axe. Third is Flyquest, and lastly, sadly winless, is UL. So, this is it for the group stage now overall. Now, in a few days, we will get to the knockout stages. The knockout draw also already happened, so we're going over the matches this time as well. Remember, it's first seed against second seed, and very important, the teams from the same side can't be from the same group. Meaning, for example, Dragon Axe and TS can't be on the same side of the bracket. So, by this, the picks were already set in stone from very early minute. Anyway, TS versus Fnatic is the first one, and then Suning versus JDG on the same side, right? So then on the other side, Genji versus G2 and Down1 versus Dragon Axe. So very interesting matches we have here. So we have Suning, JDG, LPL versus LPL team, and Down1 versus Dragon Axe, a Korean matchup as well, and also the rematch of the LCK finals, which, if you remember, didn't turn out that well for Dragon Axe. On the other hand, we have all Chinese and all Korean teams on the same side, so we won't get any Chinese or Korean finals. The only regional final we would be able to get would be Fnatic versus G2, which is, to be honest, very unlikely. So my predictions for these games are the following. So TS wins against Fnatic. Fnatic played very great, but I think TS is not very stupid either. And with TS greater player skills than actually every lane probably, they are actually able to get the W in this one. Suning against JDG. Actually, JDG is the higher seeded team from the LPL, but I wasn't really liking what they were doing in this in this group stage. They were actually very hard underperforming and probably very nervous. So I suspect that this trend will continue. Additionally, remembering what Suning did, I think Suning played very well on the second in the second week of group stage. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that Suning is actually going to take this. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if JGG returns to form and then wins this game, but SOFM and Angel were really good, and Kanavi wasn't really that great as he was in the LPL. So yeah, Suning is going to win that in my prediction. Genji versus G2. So honestly, G2 here got very lucky. This is the easiest first seed they could have gotten. Right? They couldn't have gotten Suning, so either TS, Genji, or down one. Also, the matchup is very good for G2, as Genji is a more slower team, not crushing G2 in the early game. But honestly, G2 didn't look too great, and Genji, even though they had some sloppy fails at some points, they were very controlled and reliable. So overall, I think G2 can take a game with their usual cheesy strategies, but Genji, they are more solid, and yeah, I have no real evidence that G2 has anything major in their backhand, which would result in a serious win here. Then for the last one, down one against Dragon X, yeah, that's rather easy, I have to say. Not only is down one probably the best team at the tournament at the moment. I mean, not sure if you have heard the news, but the teams at Worlds have actually stopped scrimming with down one because down one was destroying them that hard, and their players were getting demotivated, thinking about facing down one in later stages. So down one is actually now scrimming LPL and LCK teams that are not at Worlds at the moment. So yeah, down one is completely dumpstering the other teams at the moment. Remember, they're playing probably teams from the other groups. So it's not JDG that's complaining about how strong down one is. It's teams like G2, TS, Dragon X probably that are dumpstered by them. As such, and with the LCK final in mind, down one is taking this very easily. Additionally, Dragon X, if they can't improve their drafting, this will hurt a lot, right? Putting Chovy again on the tank. Yikes. I mean, they did the same thing in the finals. Yeah. Chovy had some good moments, but overall, this is not the champion for him. Similar story with Knight on Galio against Flyquest. Knight on his own can solo carry these games. But if these pro players are not on champions that facilitate their individual skills, they can't really use them. So yeah, predicting then some other stuff that might happen. TS versus Suning. TS obviously wins this, but this depends on the performance in the best of 5 beforehand, right? TS losing against Flyquest, that's very shaky. If Suning is actually stomping JDG, maybe they're looking better. Genji versus down one. Okay, that's clearly a down one win again for me. If down one continues their dominance against Dragon X, right? Or maybe Genji moving from their controlled pace to a more aggressive one, which I absolutely don't expect. Maybe this can look very different, but from what we've seen so far, I can and will predict down one. For the final, though, TS versus down one. Again, going off the performance we saw already at this Worlds, not with any best of 5 ever played. I have to say down one again. Overall, they were playing more decisively around their jungler and more decisive in these dives and early game plays. So yeah, this rounds up this rather long video, but I combined the predictions for the knockout stage as it's just some short hearsay and not worth the entire video, I feel. Anyway, wish you all a great day. See you all in a few days with the knockout stages coming around. So yeah, till then, bye.